shove insulin into self.
You pointed out something that we missed about turning red last week.
I did. Should we start with that?
Well, no, that seems like a good place to start.
So I realized this after we streamed, but there's actually something really cool in turning red that I didn't know I wanted until I found out it was there. And the fact that I didn't notice is both exactly what I want and also disappoints me a little bit in that, yeah, there's a minor character who's just wearing an insulin pump throughout the whole movie.
Do you remember which character it was?
So I am pretty sure it is the girl from the, like, stall, like, she's in the bathroom whenever the,
Right.
Panda comes in jokes. I think it's her. It's one of the, like, unnamed classmates.
Got it.
But it's a consistent design that always has the insulin pump. And that's actually kind of fucking awesome.
Are you telling me, Kyle, that inclusivity in media feels kind of good for certain groups?
Like, I am someone who can see myself in pretty much any media. That is not a particular way I am used to seeing myself in media.
That aspect, that attribute.
Yeah, that aspect. Yeah, Code Again thinks is the girl who got...
That's the one I thought you were talking about. Yeah, the one that she just grabs head, pushes back in.
Yeah. Which I want to point out, like, I almost feel like the implication that she wasn't, like, in the stall using the restroom. She was in the stall changing her insulin pump.
Could be.
That's a headcanon. Anyways, yeah, no, it's not a representation I am used to seeing. And like I'm not someone that needs to be catered to. Like, the natural course of the universe will make sure there is media that caters to me.
At least most of the attributes are covered. Hey, Sinister, how's it going? But yeah, I think like that leads into like talking about inclusivity in general, and this is why like you and I, as privileged little pancakes, don't worry about this quite so much. But when that little you know what one gets me is an amputee. And like, even because I'm a mild amputee, but like, you know, when I see the lady in Fury Road with one arm, granted she had a prosthetic arm, but like it was cool that she ever took it off.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's obviously this is the only part of me that's missing, but like it gets me and I notice it. And it's like, I exist a little bit because I, you know, a feature of mine is in media. So then you get folks that are not quite so privileged as us seeing their representation in media, and it feels good. I understand.
I actually have a kind of a heavy question for the start of the night.
Yeah, let's go for it. That's what we're here to do.
Because we're both sort of in this situation where the term disability comes to mind, but has never quite felt right for myself. If you know.
Yes, very, very much same. Like I, you know, anything, like anything minority about me is small and passable. You know, like I will wear a long sleeve shirt that just like comes to about here, that just the cuffs come to about here. No one will ever notice. Like, honestly, like once I became an adult, because this happened to me when I was a kid, it just vanished. It's just not a thing. I never think about it. And it's every once in a while, a very, very rarely a person will notice. Certainly no one's noticed in the past 2 years because I've only been in person with people who already know me. What was the one? Oh yeah, we had a conversation the other day about how it's like there's stigma against people with missing fingers in Japan because it's like you got your finger removed by the Yakuza or something. And I was like, oh.
That sounds like a Chicago conversation. I don't remember that one.
It was over Discord actually, and it just kind of like it hit. No. It was right here. It was on a Tuesday. I have it clipped. It just kind of hit me as a feeling that I'd never felt before. It's like, wait, a part of me can be discriminated against? Oh.
That's uncomfortable.
But yeah, it's interesting because it's like I'm right-handed, so it doesn't really hinder me. I'm very dexterous, so it's like this just the only time like this has ever actually hindered me is when I broke my pinky. My whole hand is bandaged up and I have to operate entirely with just my left hand. Suddenly all the things that are complicated just came right to the surface. So that was an interesting, but like no, I don't typically think of the term disabled because for the most day in day out for the most part I'm not. You know what though, I always have a little thing about video games, which is why I remap the controls for every game I play. I had to learn how to use where's my controller? Right here. I hold it like this, so this is how I play video games. And so everyone else got their thumb on that. I've got it right here. So I use my index finger for movement. And mostly this is no problem. When I used to play, back when the Nintendo days, I would actually hold it like this. Like I'd hold it.
I remember you telling me that.
And so like these buttons on the AB, these buttons on the these fingers on the D-pad, and I'd actually just hold it in my hand like that. That was a short-lived but fun little detour in the gaming. The worst one was the Wii nunchuck.
Oh, fuck
that thing
yeah.
I could use it, but I didn't like it. So yeah, it's you know what it is that like I would prefer to fly below the radar, so I don't feel the need to use the term.
So it's something I honestly. You mentioned that you stopped noticing it like the older you got, and me, it's kind of the other way around.
Yeah. Just to catch up, like what are we talking about? Just in case.
Yeah. The term disability being used for both what as you may notice from looking on screen, Ironoki is missing a finger.
Yeah.
And I have type 1 diabetes, and those are two things that can definitely
qualify as disabilities.
Yeah. Codigan says, I've seen discussions that disability is a bit complicated. That it's a disability if society doesn't accommodate it. I've seen the example of glasses. People who wear glasses have a lack of an ability, but it's accommodated and easy to accommodate, and rarely does anything else need to change to accommodate that. Working in the lab actually is a space where it does need to be accommodated outside of just wearing glasses. That makes sense.
The usefulness of a term enables things like laws and accommodations. Now, I don't typically need, except in the rare condition of video games, I don't really need special accommodations. And now, like, things have been invented, like the Microsoft Accessible Controller, which is just like this puzzle this puzzle kit of what do you need. Just put what you need where you need it. Just reassemble it. You got foot pads, you got finger pads, you got a mouth button, like fucking everything you need to just like make a controller out of your world and make it what you need it to be. And so like that stuff exists now. Fortunately, controllers have become rather standardized, and I've got my system. But the idea of because that isn't a solution to one problem. It's a solution to it's a kit from which you can build a solution to your individual situation. And so like you need a word in order to have a discussion about it. So whether I need to be labeled as a person with a disability or not isn't as important as the word disability identifies a thing we need to talk about.
Yeah. In my case, so when I was younger, it was just sort of part of me. I didn't, I got it late enough that I certainly remembered a life before it, but it became such a part of my life that,
Similar.
It stopped mattering. I got used to it, rather. But specifically when I, working at the bank, when I started taking on more responsibilities at the bank, and also I got a little older and my body stopped bouncing back from me doing stupid overwork shit, I started finding myself limited more and more by my diabetes and realizing that, I never had to, but there were certainly points working at the bank where I should have claimed some ADA accommodations. A big one being when I first got my like big promotion, like my biggest promotion at the bank. I took on a whole bunch of responsibilities, and we were very understaffed for a time, and we were getting some big bullshit to getting the staff we needed, and there were some times where I wasn't able to take my lunch break, and that fucked with my blood sugars massively.
Right.
And right by the time I realized I could have done something about that, like
The problem was
officially, we solved the problem, and I was very strict about that going forward, so I never had to actually like fill out paperwork or do anything about it. But that was one of those things. It's like, yeah, no, I like if I didn't get my lunch at the regular time, I would end up dumpstered for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And so that was one thing.
Similar, because we had a coworker who had the actual gluten sensitivity. Silly. It's because of an acid, huh? Celiac, yeah. And so, like, if we would try and plan team lunches, and the menu would say gluten-free, it wasn't.
Oh, bitch.
This happened multiple times, and it was awful, and it was just like, well, coworkers out for the day.
Yeah. There's a surprising level of overlap between the celiac and diabetic communities. I'm not exactly sure why those two diseases can coincide, but they do a lot.
Well, it's probably because it's a lot of the same paying attention to food and reaction and stuff.
I mean, literally, people who have diabetes are more likely to get celiac, or the other way around.
I
don't know which one.
I didn't understand that. That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, but same. There was a that was a whole thing. But yeah, all this is to say that, like, the older I've gotten, the more I've realized situations where I'm like, no, we, like, this is bullshit. Like, I don't have to worry about a lot of stuff because of all of the other things I've got going for me. But no, other people should have to deal with, like, non-accommodations for their other chronic illnesses. A big one happened earlier this year where on an airplane I was put in like the only seat I have ever seen that did not have a under the foot storage thing, and I couldn't keep my bag with all my diabetes supplies with me during takeoff and landing. And
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, no, I was fucking pissed because I had a feeling I'd probably need it during takeoff just because of how my blood sugars had been flowing that day, and they wouldn't let me keep it, and surprise, surprise, I needed it. And I made it out fine, but that could have been really fucking bad. And I filed an ADA complaint because of it, and they're still looking into it. I actually get regular updates. So that's interesting.
You did mention when that happened that that ADA complaints aren't too tough to file.
Oh, yeah. No, I was actually kind of surprised. It was very simple. So that's good. But yeah, I was pissed. But yeah, and then being self-employed, like, it did start happening when I, like, later days at the bank, and I think it has to do with, like, my age also, like, giving my body less room for error. So, like, my general health from being a young, scrappy, young 20s person bounced me back from shitty blood sugars easier than it does now as a late 20-something. I mean, like, I'm not that much older, but, like, I've noticed my body not working as well as it used to. And yeah, the later days at the bank, later days and days now, if I have particularly bad blood sugars, it's a sick day. I can't do anything. Body won't work.
Not allowed, sir.
So yeah, and this sort of all goes to say, I don't know if last time we were hanging out I mentioned this or not, but, like, with a lot of my big projects right now wrapping up and me starting to think about the future and, you know, things I want to write going forward, you know, post Anachronistic, probably post OTL Chapter 4 too. I want to start writing more about my diabetes and things that speak to that part of me because I've written my love life to death, and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stop. But I do have this other like whole vein of experience to draw from that. Frankly, is not actually easy a lot.
And as we started this conversation with, a little bit of representation goes a long way.
Yeah.